Everybody please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
Councilmember Titino.
Present.
Councilmember Rye.
Here.
Councilmember Ryan.
Here.
Supervisor Albrecht.
Here.
Thank you.
Adoption of agenda. Everybody okay with the agenda?
Yeah, well, we have under discussion items and resolutions, we agreed to table for a while, didn't we? Number 1 and number 12. Number 1, discussion. Number 12, resolution.
So what I'll suggest on that, we leave the discussion item alone, and then we get into the consent. I'll agree to take that item on consent if we have a special police commissioner town board meeting on Friday, the 13th of September at 7 p.m. So,
Friday the 13th?
yes.
You know, for good luck.
It's a little difficult to set that right now. I mean, in all fairness, why does that need to happen on?
Because we were talking about having a commissioner meeting before the town board meeting, and it's going to go more than an hour, and I don't want it interfering with the town board meeting.
I understand. Hold on one second, please. So you say it's 7?
7's fine.
7? We could do earlier if you want.
Yeah, we have to announce, right, Mr. Gallo?
You do. I'm not available on the 13th,
okay.
pardon me.
I'm sorry?
I'm not available on Friday the 13th,
Okay.
just in case you...
That works for me.
Are you available on Monday?
No, I'd like to do it on the 13th. That's my day.
That's your day.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Well, then, let's do it at 5 o'clock.
Respectfully, I would prefer if we could, at the very least, do 6.
You can do 6, Greg?
I can do 6, but
All right.
5 is just a little early. I basically have to take half day.
You've got to get here, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it.
So, Mr. Gallo, how do we do this? I want to schedule this public hearing.
Well,
This town board,
It's
police
a
commissioner
special
meeting.
meeting of the police commission. As the supervisor, you can call it, and you just have to post notice at least 48 hours before on the town website and on the clerk's office. You do not need to publish notice of it in the newspaper, but you do need to alert the media. So I'll help prepare the notice of the...
So just to be upfront, my plan is to go into this police commissioner meeting and go into another town board meeting and vote on the promotion to lieutenant. That's my plan. How do I do that?
Oh, so it's a special town board meeting, not just...
Well, it's a police commissioner too. Do we go into executive session?
You could do both at the same time.
Well, you and I had a discussion about this. You're talking about it quite differently from the way you and I had this discussion.
You're
right. You know? I mean, come on, if we're going to be... I think we need to have a police commission meeting. I think then from that we make decisions, because there may be a lot of things to talk about. This is what you and I discussed.
What I'm proposing is that we go into the police commissioner meeting, then into a regular meeting and voting up for the position of lieutenant. That's what I want to do. If you don't want to do it, let me know.
Well, that does make sense, because then we would be having the police commission meeting, and then from that meeting, we would then be making decisions. So that would be what Brian wants.
Yes.
So.
Well, that's not what you and I discussed. We discussed having a police commission meeting,
Yep.
the second meeting Wednesday in September, and then we were going to consider putting them on the agenda for October. That's exactly what we talked about.
I mean, you're just kind of, I mean, it's not what we discussed, Ozzy, and
Other things have happened.
other things have happened?
Yes.
Well, see, once again, there's no discussion on whatever the other things are.
Let's carry on. I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as written. Can I have a second, Greg?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next up is acceptance of minutes, town board regular meeting, August 7th, 2024, presented as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up is introduction of new employees. Anybody just hired by the Town of Fishkill, please stand up. Nobody this month? Young man, you come first, young lady in back of him, and then the gentleman in last. Just tell us who you are, what job you have, and what made you decide to work for us.
My name is Andre. I'm working for the Fishkill Recreation. My name is Andre. I'm working for the Town of Fishkill Recreation after school program, and I'm just super excited to work with the kids, have a great time.
Thank you, Andre. Young lady?
My name is Nigella. I'm working for the after-school program at the Fishkill Recreation, and I'm really excited to work with the kids this year.
Thank you. Sir? Has he worked for us before?
I don't know. Looks familiar.
Hi, my name is Freddie Salazar, and I got hired for the Town of Fishkill Recreation After-School Program. I'm excited to be working with them and to join the team. I have lots of experience working with 3 children that I've raised and working with their after-school activities, and I'm looking forward to working with them, providing them a fun and safe environment.
Thank you, sir. All right, is that it? Welcome to Fishkill. Sergeant Murtaugh, is the sergeant here?
Yes, sir.
Bring in your presentation, please.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor,
Okay.
members
Get
of the
this
town
out.
board. I promise to be brief, and I thank you for the opportunity to congratulate this year's Academy class. This summer, myself and 4 of our cadets attended the 2024 Cadet Police Academy at Westfield State University. This is a boot camp style academy. The kids are busy from 6 a.m. lineup until 11 p.m. when lights are out. This year, we had cadets in the basic program, the practical skills program, and the cadet police department. This year we had, in the basic program, our cadets get training in traffic stops, felony traffic stops, marching. They compete in a marching competition and learn team building skills, just to name a few. Next is the practical skills program, more commonly known as PSP. For the last 10 years, I have served as their assistant director. This is a physically and mentally challenging program. The kids begin with a physical fitness test on Sunday night, and by the end of the week, they complete a half a marathon of running. So they definitely got their exercises in. In the course of their training, they get trained in stop to bleed, baton training, active shooter, handgun retention, self-defense, fingerprinting, and crime scene techniques. The Cadet Police Department is just how it sounds. It's a fully functioning, simulated police department. The cadets do scenarios, foot patrol, bike patrol. They answer numerous calls in scenario-based training. So without further ado, graduating from the basic program, Cadet Lucas Sika. Graduating from the practical skills program, and I'm very pleased to announce that this Cadet Jessica Testa, not only graduated, but she beat out nearly 300 other cadets from New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts to take the Academy's top prize, the Director's Award. And she's also the first cadet to do this. Jessica? Graduating from the Cadet Police Department, Cadet Jason Mendez.
Congratulations.
Graduating also from the Cadet Police Department, Cadet Michael Toplanage. We're now going to announce the Lieutenant Dustin James Memorial Cadet of the Year. Cadet James is a former cadet who was tragically killed in 2017 in an auto accident. Dustin started in the cadet program in early 2000s and quickly obtained ranks the old-fashioned way. He earned it. He earned it always with a smile, looking out for his peers, and he led by example in a professional manner. He worked tirelessly to achieve his goals, and to help me present this award will be Sergeant Murtaugh. We're going to first hand the Cadet of the Year plaque from last year and then for this year. Sergeant?
So for the year 2023, due to Detective Bentley being out, we didn't have a ceremony for the Cadet of the Year. However, in 2023, this program was introduced to Cadet Winter Ross. Winter blew everyone away. She won the Cadet of the Year award in the Beacon Academy. She placed third in the nation in future business competition. And if anyone was present for the 9/11 ceremony, they remember how powerful her speech was, that she wrote and delivered all on her own. 2023 Cadet Winters.
All right, I'd first like to welcome those of the town board for letting me speak, as well as Detective Bentley and Sergeant Murtaugh. Their leadership has been completely excellent and amazing in both training me and the new cadets. But I'd first want to say a good evening to everyone here. It's an incredible honor to stand before you as last year's Cadet of the Year. The Town of Fishkill Cadet Program has been a life-changing experience for me, and tonight I'd like to share what it truly means to not only me, but also the virtues of the program and how such is exemplified in our current cadets. When I first joined, I had no idea how much the program would shape me, and I just want to reiterate that this program is so much more than an excellent introduction to law enforcement. It really serves as a catalyst for personal development. One of the first things I learned was discipline, and it's not really just about following orders. It's about holding yourself to a higher standard. Whether it's arriving on time, maintaining our uniforms, or meeting the program's rigorous standards, discipline became the foundation of everything we did. This lesson had a profound impact on me personally, influencing how I approach both my studies and my personal responsibilities. But discipline is just the start. The cadet program is built on core virtues that extend beyond our time in uniform. Honor is one such virtue. We learned here at the cadet program that honor isn't just a word, it's a way of life. It's about living with integrity, and as cliche as it may sound, even when no one is watching. Our actions reflect not just on us as individuals, but on our entire cadet program and the legacy of the Town of Fishkill. Courage is yet another pillar of our training. It's not just about the dramatic moments, it's about the small, everyday actions. It's about standing by our values and pushing through fear and uncertainty. And then, of course, there's commitment. The cadet program demands a very high level of commitment, not just to the program, but to the wonderful community we have the honor to serve and represent. It's about embodying the principles of service, responsibility, and leadership in everything we do. Looking back, I can see how those virtues shaped me, not just as a cadet, but as a person. I've grown in ways I could have never experienced when I joined, and which has only accelerated my path down success. In closing, I want to express my deepest gratitude to the officers, instructors, and everyone involved in the Town of Fishkill Cadet Program, most notably Sergeant Murtaugh and Detective Bentley right here, as well as the town board. Your dedication to our development has been unwavering, and to my fellow cadets, I am proud to have once stood amongst you. Together, we carry forward the legacy of this program, embodying the virtues of discipline, honor, courage, and commitment. And to this year's Cadet of the Year, I can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Sure.
Thank you guys so much.
That was good.
I feel bad for the 2024 winner.
I
That's
know.
a tough act to follow.
Who's that?
So for 2024, our Cadet of the Year is going to be Sergeant Connor McSorley. Sergeant McSorley stepped up in a unique way while his squad suffered the loss of a corporal. He's been essentially doing the work of both corporal and sergeant. He's made every single detail. He's demonstrated an incredible ability to lead. He's maintained a cool head in the face of difficult challenges, and above all, has demonstrated everything that we could ask for from rank without being trained on how to do what it is a supervisor is required to do. He's done it naturally, and he's done it incredibly well. Connor McSorley.
In closing, I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Supervisor, members of the town board, for your continued ongoing support, and thank you for the opportunity to congratulate these fine young men and women for a job well done. Thank you.
Here, here. Thank you.
Here, here.
We did a photo. Let's get a picture.
We want to get a picture of everybody got an award. And then a picture with everybody.
Hold on. Everyone else first, Connor. Connor, come over. And who are we missing? No one? All right. Everyone else over there.
Am I not supposed to be here? I'm noticing you guys are over there. I got that one. How about if we take a picture with
Everybody together. Squeeze the big guys in the back.
You guys just squeeze just a little on the side.
Good.
Yep.
All right. Congratulations.
Oh, no problem.
Someone make a motion in executive session.
Considered going into speech writing.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to go into executive session. We got the labor attorney here. We're going to go in for...
This is not the moment.
personnel matters together.
We start to have a conversation. That there's talent there.
Motion, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye, 4-0.
Okay, everybody, we're going to go into executive
Just
session.
gonna have my job pretty soon.
4-0.
We need a motion for that, right?
Oh, he just made it. We need somebody to second it.
I'll second.
Brian already seconded.
I seconded it.
Okay, did we vote?
Yeah, 4-0. We voted for you.
Thanks.
Well, it'll be recorded that way.
I didn't even have to do it. Music.
All right, we're back from executive session. I'll make a motion to go back into regular session. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, what do we got next? Next up is privilege of the floor for general town items. I got this group here. I'll give you the opportunity to speak first. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Stratton Gonzalez. I live on Magnolia Drive in Fishkill, across from what I still call Duchess Stadium.
That's located in Fishkill, not Wappingers.
That's right.
That is true, even though I have a mailing address that says Wappingers Falls. I do pay my taxes here. So I'm here to speak out in support of this body passing the strongest possible version of good cause. And for me, that would include the caveat that a landlord be held to this new law if they had more than one rental unit. right? So I'm not a landlord, and I'm also not a renter. I'm a homeowner, a single-family home, but I can speak to what I've experienced with my neighbors who have been forced to move because of rents and evictions, and what that does to the community. And we talk a lot about the need for community in the United States and the loss of community and the kind of loss of common ground and participating in the life together. So the instability in housing and the fact that people have to keep moving and the fact that people can't stay in the town that they grew up in because they can't afford to stay, all of that contributes to the lack of common ground and the lack of community. So I'm a former teacher. When kids leave school in the middle of the year because they have to move, absolutely that's a trauma to the family and the child, but it also impacts every other child in the classroom, right? It changes the reading groups and the math groups and lots of stuff that people don't think about. It changes what happens in our faith communities. But it also has a great impact on neighbor to neighbor, right? So that's what I'm here to support, some reasonable, I don't know if legislation is the right word, but some rule of law that allows for people to live a decent life, have stability in their housing, and protects tenants. Thank you.
Mr. Gava, we've been working on a couple things. Can you just update the public what we're doing?
Sure. The board's been aware of the good cause eviction law since it was signed into legislation by the governor. At the board's request, I put together a memo describing to the board what the provisions of the law are and what needs to be done to opt into it. The board's been mulling over whether to take action in regard to the good faith eviction law or not, and if so, what provisions it should include. We have not gotten to the point where there's a draft of the law yet. If and when the board directs that the draft be prepared, I'll certainly do that, and the board will look into what would be appropriate to enact for the town of Fishkill at that time.
Anybody else like to speak?
Good evening. How's everyone doing today? I know I'm a little tired. I'm sure you guys are very tired as well. Can you guys hear me?
Sure.
Excellent. So I have a little statement that I'll read. Thank you, Ozzy and members of the town board, for the opportunity to provide some comments this evening. My name is Mike Shade. I live in Fishkill on Stony Kill Road. And as a local homeowner and taxpayer, I wanted to say a few words about this topic, good cause eviction, which we just heard that the town is currently considering enacting. I've personally emailed all members of the town board in recent weeks to share my perspective on this issue. I've appreciated the responses that I've received from some of you, Ozzy and Brian, for example, and appreciate that the town is taking a close look at this issue. So a little bit about me. My wife and I, we moved to the Hudson Valley. We moved to Fishkill 3 years ago after buying our home. In fact, we moved into our home 3 years ago yesterday to the date. My wife and I both work for nonprofit organizations. She works in media and the arts. I work for an environmental health nonprofit organization. Locally, I'm involved in issues in the community. I'm a member of the Stewart Airport Restoration Advisory Board, which is overseeing the investigation and cleanup of PFAS contamination in the city and the town of Newburgh. So, you know, as relatively new folks to the area, we're thrilled to live here, and we plan to live in Fishkill for decades to come. We plan to continue to build our lives here. And we want to live in a community that safeguards all residents, whether they're rich, middle class, or on the lower end of the income spectrum. So that's why I wanted to share my perspective, that I feel that as a local resident, as a taxpayer, that I think it's really important for the town to pass common sense, good cause legislation. As a homeowner, I think it's important for everyone in the community to have access to good quality, affordable housing. And unfortunately, when tenants are priced out or evicted, we know that this can make our community here less stable. Of course, if people are evicted without protections, they could experience homelessness, which could present serious challenges for our town, for the local police department, as well as other local government agencies and service organizations. This could also be very costly to us as local taxpayers, and that greatly concerns me as a local taxpayer. A few things that I've learned recently that I think are really important for the town to consider as you think about this issue. One, today, roughly 47% of Fishkill renters are considered rent burdened, meaning that they pay more than 30% of their income on their rent. And this shows that many local residents, tenants, can potentially have a tough time keeping up with costly rent hikes and could be vulnerable to evictions over time. Also, every year, dozens of Fishkill residents face eviction. This calendar year, in 2024, there's been, as of August 26th, there's been 31 evictions filed here in the town of Fishkill.
Say it again?
There were, I'm sorry, let me just double check the number there. There were 31 evictions.
How do you get that information?
It's according to local housing experts, and I'm happy to connect you with them so they can share
There's
that
not like a
information.
website that says Fishkill, Wappingers?
This is Town of Fishkill.
I'm just saying, is there some type of website that shows you, how do you know, I'm just,
Yeah, Naomi here has that information. It's public information according to the state courts.
okay, just curious.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you, so they file, you know.
So it is-
I got you.
Yeah, the public.
Yeah,
document.
it's publicly available information. Last year was even worse. In 2023, there were 50 folks that were evicted in the town of Fishkill. So this is clearly an important issue that affects local residents. Recognizing the growing challenges with housing, other local governments, including Beacon, Poughkeepsie, Kingston, have recently passed comprehensive good cause legislation, all including a strong definition of a small landlord, which is one of the key issues that we want to highlight to you this evening. Given that other local governments, like Poughkeepsie and Beacon, have passed this comprehensive legislation, we hope that you will consider joining them in passing the strongest version of this law as possible by defining a small landlord as the owner of one unit. If not, unfortunately, the law would not protect many Fishkill residents. We know that many Fishkill renters today live in buildings with 10 or fewer units, so unless the portfolio size is low, unfortunately, many local tenants would not be protected by this legislation as the town considers it. So we think it's really important for the town to get this right in order to protect local tenants. So finally, in closing, as a local homeowner and as a taxpayer, I urge you to join them in passing the strongest possible version of this legislation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the opportunity to share this perspective, and thank you for everything that you do to make Fishkill a great place to live.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Because, I mean, those are statistics on court proceedings to throw people out. And I've communicated with you. I'm pretty sure you know I'm sensitive to this issue, correct?
Yeah, and thank you.
Yeah. So, but there's the flip side of it, you know, and the flip side is, and I've been there. I've been squeezed out because I can't afford it by rent increases. So, twice. So, it's near and dear to my heart. But sitting here, I've got to consider the owners, you know, and there's some that I know that are small and owners, and I don't know, in fact, I know of one in particular, I'm not going to name names, where they were destroying the place, they weren't paying rent. I know of somebody right now who's getting somebody kicked out of a place because the cops are coming all the time. So part of these statistics are people that probably should, so we have to be cognizant of that as we present this. It's not just all, you know, individuals that you know, unfortunately are in that kind of financial situation, which I'm very sensitive to. So I just want to point that out, that, you know, we have to strike a balance up here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it's important to strike a balance. I mean, look, this would not prevent tenants from being evicted. What this would do is give tenants more power to advocate for themselves when they find themselves in a situation where they may be facing the threat of being evicted. Other local towns like Beacon and Poughkeepsie have passed this legislation. You know, we're not seeing landlords leaving those communities as far as I can tell. The City of Albany has also passed this legislation, and, you know, personally as a local taxpayer and as a local person that votes, I strongly hope that you would consider passing the strongest version of this legislation as possible, just like other local municipalities have done.
You know, Mr. Shade, you bring up an excellent point. The concept of good cause eviction is that eviction should be done for good cause. So instances that, you know, my colleague was referencing of, you know, individuals who are damaging the property or that there may have been criminal activity taking place in the home would, I think, be the textbook example of exactly a situation where a person should be evicted. If you're not
Yep.
going to abide by the terms of your lease, then that lease should be voided. But the concern that we share is, of either predatory loaning or renting practices by landlords, or the response to, the prevailing market being so exaggerated in a local environment that the price of rent increases faster than the average renter can keep up with, and then they end up forced to, leave the community where they've made their home. They often work, they have their kids, and we understand the serious repercussions to that. I am in favor of the strict, construct of there being single unit ownership as being a threshold. The one concern that I would like to work out with our attorney as we go through this process is how to deal with what I can only imagine that law will lead to, which would be the proliferation of LLCs. That would be the owners of individual units, so that they could specifically bypass the legislation. And so I'm going to be curious as to what preventative measures we can put in place to prevent people with means from doing what people with means usually do, which is find a way to make sure that the law doesn't apply to them.
Yeah. Question. Thank you for being here. The cities that have already voted for this implementation, did they all pass identical laws?
Yes.
With the one unit law, we'll call it?
Correct, yeah.
They all have.
They're all aligned, yep.
Okay.
In fact, Beacon just passed it about a week and a half ago. And the city of Newburgh is actually considering the legislation right now. They're having a meeting, I believe, tomorrow, and they're looking to vote on it next week. And we know that housing is an even bigger challenge in Newburgh than it is here compared to Fishkill, but certainly I don't think we would want Fishkill to serve as the lowest common denominator for landlords that want to skirt this common sense legislation. So I think if other local municipalities are considering this legislation, personally, I think it's important for Fishkill to align with these other local governments so that we don't end up being a dumping ground for landlords who perhaps want to get around some of these other local laws.
A dumping ground?
A dumping ground in terms of skirting this legislation in other communities. Yeah. Well, I know that there are other local tenants that are here tonight, and with that, I'll cede the floor and pass it on to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shea.
Good evening. My name is Susan, and I currently reside at Mountain View Garden Apartments. I am a tenant there. I've been there going on my 4th term lease. And I guess I have a couple of talking points, but I don't know really where to start and what you actually want to hear. What I want to start is with my rent increases. I moved out of Westchester County. I moved to Putnam. I went from Putnam, and I'm now in Dutchess. I thought this is where they would be burying me. But at this given time, my rent has increased, math-wise, $600 a month at Mountain View Garden Apartments, and I just started my 4th month lease. Where is the justification for that? I haven't seen it. I have potholes. There's liability exposure within the entire complex. There are places within the complex that certain things should not be going on.
If you have, don't say that now. Send me the email, explain what your concerns are, and
Yes.
we'll deal with it
Okay.
that way. I don't want you to get in trouble.
Thank you. I'm saddened, I'm disappointed, and I'm scared to stay where I am until my retirement, which could be in another 3 years, okay? This good cause legislation, take it under true consideration because it is a starting point. That's basically, if I heard that it passed, then I felt like somebody was listening and we can take the next step. I don't know what we can do about capping off rent increases and what gives property management the capability. Their attitude is, if you can't afford it, bye, we have a waiting list. And that's not a good enough excuse anymore, okay? And thank you for listening to me.
Did you say you're in your 4th year or 4th month?
4th year
Okay.
of signing a lease.
Right. So 4 years ago, you were paying
Well,
$600 a month?
Technically 3 years ago, because I just started my 4th year.
Yep.
Okay? I increased $600 in total a month.
Wow.
That's a 35% increase, possibly, if I mean.
You're now paying
I lived there for 3 years before they sold.
And I signed my lease May, they sold in June.
Yeah.
So I was accustomed to only 1 month of the family-run business. Then it went, sold to a property agency that manages the property, who don't even live in the area. They don't know anything that's going on there, and that's another shame.
Probably black.
So anyway, that was my first time speaking. I did okay, I think.
Well, welcome to Fishkill.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And please come back and speak anytime you have anything related to town business.
And as you saw, we had the young kids come here that were hired by the town. The town board asked them to come speak, to give them these speaking skills that they can use when they get older in life.
Yep.
So that's why we do that.
Hi, my name is Dawn Petras. I live at Mountain View Garden Apartments. Just to show you that I'm not a traveler, I've lived in Beacon and Fishkill all my life. I've lived in Mountain View Garden Apartments for 18 years now. And my rent now has put me at a point where, come the next lease up, I have to think about leaving the area. A common apartment, a one-bedroom apartment, mind you, my apartment has not been touched in 18 years. It has not been painted. I have old appliances, old cabinets. The only thing they recently did was put down laminated floors. And for this, I pay $1,945 a month rent. On top of that, they also hit, part of it is an amenity fee, which most of us don't use. They just don't take care of it anymore. We have trees that are standing up that are dead. They're going to fall over.
I need anybody live in any type of development that has any type of problems, get that to me and I'll deal with it.
Okay.
And if I don't take care of it, then you can complain next time.
Right.
But I will get that to the property
We
manager.
just don't want you to end up experiencing any inconveniences with your property management because of something that you might say here.
I get that. But they're not interested in property management, but I'm sure you're going to deal with that eventually. Because when we ask them for something, their excuse is, oh, we're short of help, we'll get to you eventually. We have a bee issue. We ask them to address that because suppose those kids get stung.
Again.
Okay, but you got to do it. But that's it. I mean, I want to stay there, but now it has put me in a choice. I have no place to go come June.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and it goes up every year. It's anywhere from $200 to $250 a month. Every year it goes up. So that's my complaint.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? My name is Jessica Klein. I currently live in Fishkill. I also have been renting at the same apartment for the last 20 years. And really, I just want to my rent has also gone up $600 in the last few years. But I came here tonight because I'm passionate about older people. There are people, I'm sorry, that are on Social Security, and they can't afford the apartment. And I get emotional about this because there have been a lot of people that have left the complex, people that I've been close to, and they were forced to leave because they couldn't afford it. And, and I get emotional because you know, I lost my mom not that long ago, and there were people there that were mother figures, and they were forced to leave. They actually left the state because it was so expensive. So I really hope that you guys pass the strongest possible version of this, because I just don't know how people on Social Security can afford to live, and it's forcing people out of this complex, out of actually most of the complexes. I have a neighbor that has, unfortunately, makes me sad, he has cancer, and his rent just went up again, and he's being forced to leave. And, you know, he's trying to figure out where to live, and he doesn't know if he should live with his daughter. So we have so many cases like that in our complex, and like I said, I get emotional about it because I really worry. I mean, I'm going to be that age at some point, right? And it's going to happen. So, so really, I'm just here to talk on behalf of, you know, not only myself, because obviously I don't want to have a rent increase, but really for people that are on a fixed income and that really just can't afford. I mean, Social Security is not going up, right?
Not that much.
It's not going up, and yet the landlords are raising these prices and just forcing people out. And we have really good people. I think we want people to stay in Fishkill, right? But I can count so many people that have left or even went out of state, or maybe went more up north because of this, you know? And I don't think we want people, like good people, to leave this area. I love this area. And the reason why I've stayed so long, honestly, and that's why I get emotional, is really the people. Like, you might want to ask, like, why have you been there so long? Well, it's really been like a sense of family, and now all these people are leaving. So, anyway, I hope you guys pass it. Thank you.
Ronald Pistolesi. I've been a resident of Fishkill for over 50 years. I didn't come here to talk about this, but being that it's been talked about, I'm going to say, like what Brian said, there's a flip side to the coin. I'll tell you a quick little story that I've just had. We bought a house, a foreclosure house, not in Fishkill, in Wapaju's on Pine Ridge Drive, but we bought a house in January. It was a foreclosure, but it came with a squatter. And that person was in there since 2012, and they hadn't paid any rent to their landlord since 2017. So it was the middle of winter, and I felt bad because I'm not heartless. I care about people. So I felt bad. I didn't want to get these people out of the house in the middle of winter in the cold and stuff. And I talked it over in my head. I said, we're not going to really do anything to this house until spring anyway. So I told the person, I said, look, you can stay here until April, the end of April, and then you got to go because we got to completely refurbish this whole house before winter. And needless to say, she used every tactic in the book, all right, because there is a flip side to the coin. She used every tactic in the book to drag it out, and we finally got her out after tens of thousands of dollars of attorney fees and everything else. It didn't cost her anything, but after tens of thousands of dollars, I finally got her out the 31st, okay? So there is a flip side to the coin, all right? And when people say the rent's gone up, I'm a business owner, and rent's gone up, this gone up, yeah, it goes up. I don't know if anybody's raising the rents because their taxes are going down. I mean, look around. I mean, look around. At the gas pump, at the grocery store. I mean, everything's gone up. So, I mean, as a business owner, I've had to raise my prices in order to stay in business, because if I keep things the way they were 5 years ago, as little as 5 years ago, the money runs out and you go out of business. So, all I could say is make sure you vote correctly in November. That's it. That's my story.
Anybody else? Go on, Mr. Stark. Just tell everybody in the audience who you are.
Good evening, I'm Jan Stark, taxpayer and resident of the town. I have a few questions tonight, and hopefully you'll be able to show some clarity to them. First on my list is downstate property. The quality of workers' life property, the QWL on Red Schoolhouse Road, is not being taken care of. It's a shambles. Some of the weeds or whatever are taller than I am. And I don't know who's responsible for that any longer. It used to be the prison would take care of it, but we don't know who's responsible for the maintenance of that property any longer. Staying with downstate, once the property transfers to this redevelopment company, how much control will the town have over its development? Like many of us that live near the prison off Red Schoolhouse Road, I'm concerned about our infrastructure will not be able to handle the traffic on Red Schoolhouse Road. I don't know if there's plans to be able to cut roads to go into Beacon or wherever, but I know Red Schoolhouse Road won't be able to handle if they follow through and build 1,300 units. As it is now, when 84 is backed up going westbound, people make that great diversion where they get off 84, come up 9, come through the village on 52, down 52 past Town Hall here, and they invariably make that right turn onto Red Schoolhouse Road to make a left turn onto 9D to try and catch the bridge further down. I don't know if they realize it or not. I don't think many people realize that the traffic going westbound, especially like at the 5 o'clock hour, starts at the thruway entrance off 84 with all the truckers and stuff like that trying to get off 84 to get onto the thruway to go to wherever they're going. So that's a big concern of a lot of my neighbors where I live. One of my neighbors is looking to sell their house. I might have someone that's interested, but they're concerned about what's happening in the downstate prison. And not only that kind of concern with the amount of traffic, but what is the economic impact going to have on our neighborhoods in that area? Okay, will that end up devaluing our properties? There's just so much that's up in the air that we just have absolutely no clue of. Next on my list is the Hudson Highlands Forge Trail. Now, it's my understanding that Scenic Hudson, who bought the old Duchess Manor, has been trying to circumvent the process with the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals by doing things in pieces rather than all at once. Okay, they have a thing that they want to do, so they do that, and then they have the next phase that they want to do rather than dealing with it at one time. I bring that up because apparently the Planning Board has been approving everything that they put forth before it goes to the Zoning Board. Currently, they want to have a zoning change of one of the properties there to change from a residential property to commercial, so that they can put a 250-car parking lot in there, which will butt up to a residential property. Now, in the past couple of years, there's been a lot of concern with the board. There's been a lot of talk about the aqua system and the aqua filtration system. And they were to put a 250 car parking lot because they're expecting 1 million people a year to come visit. I don't know where to get that number, but they're expecting 1 million people a year to come. Imagine what that will do to those residents' aqua system, their water. It's going to contaminate it. And, you know, Mr. Albert, you and I, we've disagreed on a number of different issues, but development is one that I think we've agreed on, okay? And, you know, we've always talked about putting residents first, okay? Now, yes, Scenic Hudson is putting in a lot of money. There's a lot of grant money that's going to connect Fishkill to Cold Spring with this trail. But and they're going to redo the entire Dutchess Manor. But do they need another 250-car parking lot that's going to abut up to a person's property? What is that going to do to those individuals that live there now? What is it going to do to their quality of life? What is it going to do to their property values? It's going to dramatically impact that. As it is now, when there are people coming up to hike the trails down at Breakneck, just south of them, people are coming up, total strangers, and making U-turns in their driveway and in their property. And we do not have a police presence down there. I don't know if it's feasible or cost effective to maybe have a substation put down there, maybe attach it to the Dutchess Junction Firehouse if we're able to have police officers down that way to patrol. But, we got so many strangers coming up from the city or whatever, and I have nothing against people visiting our area from the city, but there has to be respect for our local residents and their properties and their quality of life. And with that being said, I'm very well aware, as the rest of the residents of the town, how the town has opposed the development of Continental Commons. I don't see a whole lot of difference between what Scenic Hudson is trying to do there that's going to have direct impact on people that live there and the fight against Continental Commons and trying to preserve the Fishkill Depot. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stark.
Thanks, Mr. Stark.
Anybody else? Raise your hand. All right, motion to make. How come you didn't give me a motion one time?
I'm not leaving until Louise gets to speak.
Finished it. Jan's finished. Yeah. Louise Daniele, legal resident of Town of Fishkill for over 30 years. Regarding discussion items, the first one where it's talking about promoting Detective Sergeant Clark to lieutenant, I saw that was in consent agenda, but it was kind of hard to hear what you guys were saying earlier in the meeting, so I'm not sure if you're actually taking that out or making it a separate meeting. I hope you're not making it a separate meeting because that's a little non-transparent. I think that everybody should be able to hear what's going on regarding that. Why do we need another lieutenant? We are top heavy already. The supervisor discussed not promoting people unless there were replacements, and I see a police officer resigning on the agenda as well, but I don't see a replacement. I understand the supervisor had the right to appoint an officer in charge. I'm okay with that, especially so that the ex-chief who chose to leave does not get to appoint someone himself. That should not happen. The town board makes those decisions, not an outgoing chief who didn't want to work for the town anymore. So instead of promoting an officer in charge to lieutenant, I would ask that you begin looking for someone to become a new chief. Someone who will not be political, as our prior police chief was, and someone who would be able to prioritize and complete tasks that should have already been done, like body cameras and accreditation, or just don't do accreditation. I never thought it was necessary, but if you do and you move forward with it, hire someone experienced that can complete it quickly. I know the supervisor has had some resumes of people who should be considered seriously, someone not connected to our GOP or any political connections, and can come in and focus on hiring and retaining police officers to do road patrol, accident investigations, and community policing, not extra details that the part-time police departments should not expend police officers or taxpayers' money on when full-time PDs are better equipped to handle other details. Those would free up officers for road patrol as we need. For the Little Red Schoolhouse discussion, I don't see a title search attached to that. I'm not sure if Mr. Gaba has done one or not, but I would ask that you not spend taxpayer money on that and close the discussion. Creating a building there would be very costly, and we have many other things that we can spend our money on. Let's see. Regarding the weight limit signs, I agree with Carmine, his suggestion to put up a no through unless local delivery sign instead. I I think that would be more effective. Regarding meetings twice a month, having it once a month affects many things regarding hiring, firing, resignations, money transfers, and numerous other applications for the board to review, especially hiring. This goes to discussion 18 about the rec hires as well. I remember when a hiree for the summer program had to wait a week and a half when I was on the board to start because the board had to approve him at the next meeting. Yet many other people have started and then got approved after they have already started. You should have the same policy for everyone. If you have only one meeting a month, someone could be hired, not approved by the board, and potentially quit before the next meeting. I can fully understand why the supervisor may want to have one meeting a month, to not have to hear board members speaking over other board members or citizens, and because we haven't really seen many items for change be presented by the board members, just photo ops. But for smooth town operations, they should be twice a month, not once. For 10 and 11, I never really agreed that the town employees and the town equipment should be used to plow historical societies. I still don't. I know it's going to get passed through. I see it's in the consent agenda. So I would just ask that they actually specify specific dates that the residents can go, maybe even twice a year if the board isn't going to utilize their location for meetings. For number 12, where it says, I wanted to know how much of the $40,000 was for hiring an agency, and how much was for the consultant to stay on until the new comptroller was in place. It should specify how much money was for each and when the end date is. I would have thought that there was money in the comptroller pay line to pay for the consultant, while there wasn't a new one there. So just to clarify that, I would appreciate it, because $40,000 is a lot of money coming from the general fund. Regarding matters not on the agenda, I would like to ask each board member to do their homework and actually look into the discussion of letting Toll Brothers buy back those 3 units offered for low-income housing. Ask questions to those who know the answers. Remember, you work for the people, not the developers, and not for the supervisor if he has made a deal without your approval. Ask if those units have been offered to the people on our list of qualified applicants. Inform yourself, and then do the right thing. And don't allow a buyback. Allow people the opportunity to buy them. I know Councilmember Foreman most likely would take the buyouts because the developer asked for it, but to Councilmember Rye and to Tino, I ask that you say no to that when it comes back up, because deals should not be made on the backs of people who need affordable housing and have not even been offered the opportunity to buy them. I know I haven't received my school tax bill yet, but I already know that there's going to be a very large increase coming, 13%, which doesn't really make sense if the equalization calculations were actually the ones that we were told was going to happen. So I would ask that the assessor come and explain to the citizens if the calculations are right and why we weren't advised of such a large increase. I realize it's school taxes, but assessments matter in calculations. I know this doesn't affect the supervisor because he pays Beacon school taxes, or Councilmember Tatino because he pays rent. It does affect Councilmember Rye, who lives in the Wappinger Central School District like myself. It does not affect Councilmember Foreman because he doesn't even pay taxes and refuses to even show us a lease to prove that he legally resides in our town. As a matter of fact, the only lease I have ever seen was an apartment upstate in the Albany area, so who knows where he truly legally resides, but it's not in our town. I'd like to ask Councilmember Foreman also to ask the special prosecutor who gave him special treatment and an ACD for his criminal arrest for possession of stolen property last fall of a political sign. That sign contained my AirTag, which is still in the East Fishkill evidence locker. I would like my property back. It can't be released from the East Fishkill Police Department evidence until the DA advises the PD it can be returned. So I'd appreciate it if Councilmember Foreman took care of that, as I may need to use the AirTag in the upcoming election. Thank you.
Kenya, you want to speak? Come on.
So Kenya Gaston, good evening, everyone. So I'm here because I've been working hard on the whole process related to housing, right? And so I don't really know everyone's story here, but I would love to hear it personally on my own time, because I had a few friends who lived in a particular development, and their rent actually went up $700 last year per month. And then it turned around and went up another $700 this year, unfortunately, per month. So unfortunately, they were no longer able to afford to live in that development, and so therefore they moved out. And so I am not the housing person, but I am someone who can assist people, direct them, and then support them, and then we just kind of get it done. And so I was looking into whether or not Fishkill should develop like a community housing committee, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is because Fishkill is very unique. We have had several situations where there is development that is allocated towards going towards affordable housing, and then that development, unfortunately, prior to me being on the board in 2019, I believe a lot of that was sold back. The other thing that I learned is that the other properties that we have, I think 2 or 3 of them, they had affordable housing. However, that affordable housing control that was from Fishkill no longer, because it expired. So there's something like we had the 20 years or so, and so we no longer have control of those units. And so therefore the management corporation of those particular developments, they take over managing the list, and Fishkill no longer has control of it. That's what I learned there. The other thing that I learned is that a large sum of our affordable housing came off the roll when where I live at behind me was purchased by the church. And so therefore all of those units go with that purchase. In any event, you can correct me if I'm wrong, any event they actually sell that property, then those units may come back into the roll, right? It depending on who they sell it to. So now we are faced with a minimal amount of housing. We really don't have much. And what we do have, which is what Louise referenced to, is these 3 units. And I know that there was some discussion. I spoke to, I've been speaking back and forth to the supervisor. He's been helping me with communicating to make sure that the community knows what's going on in his end. I spoke to Councilmember Rye, we went back and forth. And so I get his point to me was like we're in the same waiting pool, right? To see what really exists, who's going to take over, and then that person is going to have to figure it out, and then we figure it out on our end. So what I'm asking is that no action be taken on these 3 units until that's figured out. Because if the action goes now, then we are now, I'm going to say, giving away 3 units that can be used by a list of people who possibly can afford to move into them. There is a big gap in why that didn't happen, and this is not the place to discuss what that is. But I think that somebody needs to be part of that process to ensure that if Fishkill is going to have affordable housing, that we have it to the extent of the letter of the law guiding us, right? Putting whatever kind of, guidelines that in place that are needed to ensure that that housing happens. Unfortunately, in these cases here, what I learned is that the amount of money that the landlord charges, because the management company doesn't dictate the rent amount, the owner does. And so in those cases, they are allowed to charge what they wish. And then they just tell you that if you can't afford it, do what you need to do to get out. And so unfortunately that number is growing, and I've found veterans, I've found seniors, I've found working class families, I've found people who think that they're at the top of the median. It is not discriminating on who is affected by the cost of rents these days. And so if we don't get a grip on it, we're going to be in bigger trouble than we appear to be in right now. So my heart goes out to these people to my left, only because I fight daily with the supervisor's assistants to ensure that there is a senior, it was a senior housing, but it's not senior housing. Now it's 55 and older, that's what it is. And it goes towards people who may have disabilities that people may not be able to see, and so those people become very upset, right? When you can't see somebody's disability, you almost want to attack that person. But that place is, I'm going to say, run much better now that the town is involved, set some guidelines on how things get done there, and they set the leases where the increases are spelled out at the bottom. So it'll say this will go up in $50 increments every year at the renewal of your lease. Not every management company is indicating that, and so therefore that is missing. People who don't know any better don't look for it, and so therefore the $600 increase comes. So I'm just asking for you guys to consider what that looks like. You have somebody who works in this department, who is the housing department, who is very experienced, very knowledgeable. That person, I believe, should share in what this should look like, or what something should look like, to ensure that we are really looking at housing in a way to actually safeguard those people who want to stay in Fishkill, and for those people who grew up here and now are being priced out of here. So I'd ask you guys to consider that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. LaGoy?
Hi. So I live in Fishkill, and I am a landlord in Fishkill. I own a house that and I'm going to preface what I'm going to say by outlining, I know my good fortune. There are not a lot of people who can say I have a rental property and that is a source of my income. What I also want to relay is I do support a good cause eviction law. I cannot even conceive of some of the large jumped increases in rent. And I agree with our good friend Ronaldo. Of course, things go up, prices go up, taxes go up. As much as you try not to have them go up, they do. But it has to be within reason. And I think that there are some outlines on, a percentage that's reasonable. But as far as, good cause, just jacking your rents up and kicking someone out of their home because you feel like it, I don't agree with that. And I'm sorry that actually Mr. Stark left, because I did want to point out one of the very big differences between the Fjord Trail and the other property he mentioned is the other property that he mentioned is a major historic landmark. This is the heart of the Revolutionary War, and we should have been fighting tooth and nail, and we have failed that project was approved. I'm just going to say that. I'll leave it at that.
What else was on that property? Do you know?
What's that?
What else was on that property?
Oh, there's grave sites, there's, it's historic, it's just undeniable. There were 74 acres, there's 10 acres left, and soon to not be. The other thing that I wanted to point out, and people are talking about affordable housing, it actually, in Fishkill, it was called the Workforce and Senior Housing, and your predecessor failed this community in probably one of the biggest ways he could have by effectively dismantling that entire department. And I will never forgive him for that. And it did not affect me personally by way of rents or my ability to have a place to live. But I think that just absolutely failed the community in what he did, and it was so unprofessional the way he did it. That being said, the workforce housing, we never had concerns that empty apartments, well, we can't find renters. What? If that program and department was run in a manner that it used to be run in, there would be no issue with finding renters. You can find renters, I'm sure of it, if it was a program that was out there, that was available to people to fill out those applications, to even get an application. I believe that there was a problem with that. How do people even know that there is affordable housing, workforce housing here in Fishkill? So I personally would love to see a really effective, robust workforce and senior housing department back here in the town. Thank you.
Anybody else? Last call. Okay. Next up is liaison reports. Where you going?
See Becky.
Oh. Brian, go first.
Thank you.
Oh.
August was not as substantive for me. Did go to the Fishkill Business Association networking event that they had just recently, so I was glad to connect with those people. And I was pleased that we launched two of the initial pieces. Oh, sorry about that. Went to see the Fishkill Business Association, just to recap. And so on the police webpage, we did launch Frontline Public Safety Solutions, the first two modules, one of which is Vacation Watch, which I understand a lot of people did sign up for, and the other is Business Key Holders. Vacation Watch, of course, if you're going away, you just plug in your address and name and et cetera, it's all confidential. And at least the police will know, and they will make an attempt to get by your home. We don't have any guarantees, but at least we have the knowledge, and an attempt will come by, and I think it's a good thing. Business Key Holders, if there's an emergency in the middle of the night, someone broke into your business or there's a fire, then they will have a contact person for your business and be able to reach out and work with you. So we're going to hopefully put in a couple of more modules that will be helpful to the community, and I look forward to that, and that's all I have.
Okay, on Tuesday, August 20th, I was able to attend the Dutchess County Fair. Thursday, August 22nd, helped my daughter move into her living quarters at Siena College for her senior year. On Friday, August 23rd, I attended the grand opening of Ryan Power's new chiropractor office, which is right next door. I also attended a memorial golf tournament for a friend of mine who passed away a couple years ago at Baird State Park. Saturday, August 24th, spent an hour in front of Sam's Club to assist the Fishkill Food Pantry. And then in the afternoon, attended a luncheon honoring our veterans at the Elks Club. Wednesday, the 28th, stopped by the end of summer event hosted by the Blodgett Library at Sarah Taylor Park. Thursday, August 29th, attended a meet and greet with Councilman Rye with the Fishkill Business Association at 18 North Grill. And on Friday, August 30th, I ended my summer having a meeting with the supervisor.
Thank you. Greg.
I'm sure that if the residents have seen me out and about, they know what I've been up to. I'm not going to bore everybody with an itemized list. We've been here long enough.
That's it, you're done?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Bravo.
All right. Another great meeting in the beginning. Residents of Fishkill get to speak, no time limit, as long as they're respectful, and it's been working out pretty good. There was a couple questions that some citizens had some concerns with. With downstate, the board is united with our position on downstate. We have concerns with the fire district, the schools, and traffic. So we're all on the same page working to work something out. The grass is not getting cut at the site because Fishkill Correctional was cutting the grass, and now that they're not part of the prison property, it's not getting cut, and they still haven't figured out who's going to cut the grass. So that's why it's not getting cut. With the Fuhrer Trail, Scenic Hudson does want a zoning change, but it's for one house, a raised ranch, to connect it to the other property. And then there was a question about the aquifer. The Fuhrer Trail is going to cut a significant portion of the parking lot, so it remains natural in its natural state. City of Beacon, it was mentioned that I did not live in the Wapshire School District. I do live in the Beacon City School District, and last year they voted to do, I think, a $25 million, what was the amount? $25 million referendum to upgrade the schools, which passed. And I think my school taxes myself, I went up at least $600 this year. So Beacon has been impacted too, but your town taxes have been very, very good. This board is very good with your local tax. I just want to go over what we're working on with this good cause. Does good cause include that 10% max?
Yes.
It includes that? So that would be one production?
That's one element of it, yes.
One element, so that'll be part of that. Now, the accessory buildings, dwellings or apartments, that's a separate law?
We did accessory building law already, I believe.
Are you sure?
Well, I don't think we have. I think we've been discussing it, but we haven't gotten to passing it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think that it's going to be affected. That's a separate thing.
That's what I wanted. That
Oh,
would
it
be a
is
separate
separate
thing?
from that, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And that's all I got. I'm sorry, go back to John.
So I had a phone call yesterday from a resident at BGB Trailer Park. She had she lives at a dead end, and her light was out on the street, and she called Bettini, and Bettini told her to call Central Hudson. Central Hudson told her to call Bettini. So I got involved. I talked to Joel Petrus, and he was going to call Bettini, and I was told today that Bettini is going to be taking care of this.
Good job, Councilman.
That's good.
Good job. And believe it or not, this is what a lot of our work is, quality of life issues, a light, a pothole. This is like a lot of the stuff that we do. All right, so next up is discussions. Discussion of resolution about the detective sergeant. We're going to close this item. We discussed this already. Just close it. Guys, I'm going to go right to the point with number 2, discussion of Little Red House School property. I want to take it by eminent domain. Simple as that. Who's with me, who's not with me, or else we just end it. This has been going on for 5 years. I've been trying to figure something out.
You have to pardon me, but I just don't get it. I don't know what you would do with it, and I don't understand the attachment to it either. I mean, I've been by there. It's difficult to turn into. I wouldn't know what we would do with this piece of property.
I have to ask. You were going to be calling a title company to find out who exactly owns this property.
I was going to have a title search done. I have not had the title search done.
Okay, so I'll table this to when? What do you think?
October should be sufficient.
Could you move that to the second October meeting, Becky? Thank you, ma'am.
So let me ask a real quick question about it. Eminent domain, if that was possible, then that's just taking it over. That's not obligating us to do anything with it.
No, we have to pay for it.
We have to give
Fair value.
a fair value, but I don't think anybody owns it.
Well, let's just see what happens. But I just don't understand the expense.
I'm agreeing with you. Once we put this out there, 20 people are going to say they own it. I get it. But at least we can establish ownership of who owns it.
All right. We can establish that.
Yeah, well, it's part of our history, part of our 250th anniversary that we highlight our historical things. The Little Red Schoolhouse, for like 100 years, educated the poor people of Fishkill on that 9 Brockway Road for 100 years. I think it's important to acknowledge our past, and the problem with our future generations is that they don't know our history. And right here in Fishkill, we're losing a lot of history. We have a burial ground with soldiers in it, and no one seems to care. So whenever I get an opportunity to try to save something, I'm going to move in that direction to preserve history and honor our past.
I think we have to determine who's the owner.
I agree.
And, you know, and there's nothing there now. I mean, what is there? That's all. So let's move on.
All right, so second meeting in October? Yes. All right. All right, discussion of left-hand turn on Firethorn Drive off 9D. Highway Superintendent Carmen Estevan wrote a memo about this discussion of left-hand turn of Firethorn. The supervisor, town board members, I have confirmed with the New York State Department of Transportation that left-hand turns from Firethorn onto 9D, as well as left-hand turns from 9D onto Firethorn that require motorists to pass over the crosshatch on the road are permitted under New York State traffic law. I recommend that we continue to allow left-hand turns at this location. Also, the light, this is my recommendation, that if any motorist has been cited for such a turn, those citations should be dismissed. So we had issue with Route 9D with a motorist making a left-hand turn, and it was questionable whether it was proper or not. So the highway superintendent investigated and allows motorists to make a left-hand turn on Firethorn going north on 9D. We okay with just moving on this?
I absolutely am, and I think we need to just make sure our police department knows that it's okay to make a turn.
So we'll just let them know that they shouldn't write any tickets on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Just close this guy out, close it out. Okay, we just discussed the accessory apartments and buildings with Mr. Gaba. Can you give us an update on that?
I was under the impression that the local law had been enacted. If it is not, I'll get the resolution introducing it. I prepared it. And we'll schedule a public hearing, and you can move forward on it.
Unless we're blanking out, I don't remember doing that.
We passed a lot of laws, so I don't.
Well, perhaps I'm mistaken. I've been mistaken before. We'll look into it. I'll get back to the board.
Let's look into that. Let's get that on the agenda let's get it set up the first October meeting to notice the public hearing. First October meeting. Number 5, discussion of placement of weight limit signs on town portion of Merritt Boulevard.
I like this a lot, and, we have to do that, but I don't think it's going to have any teeth unless we post a big fat fine right on that same sign. I really, like $250 your first time you cruise through here, but $500 after, something really with teeth.
Well, I certainly agree with the idea that we need to establish, fines and guidelines for that, but the reality is that a sign isn't going to do anything either unless we've got a traffic enforcement detail there to actually enforce it.
Well, this is true, but at least police will know that that's what they can write.
Yeah.
There's also an issue with placement of the sign. And my understanding is, I believe it's the eastern end, Merritt goes down to a point where it actually begins in the village. Is that
Merritt, the western end.
It starts at the Walmart side.
Yeah.
On Route 9.
But the point is, if you could get permission from the village to place a sign,
Right.
on village property, it would probably be more effective than if you place a distance up Merritt, because by that time a truck will have already come up it.
Can we write the village a letter and ask them to allow us to do that? Because that's our plan for Merritt.
Let the Carmine talk to the mayor.
Yeah.
Exactly. Carmine should talk with whoever it is who's running their highway and say, this is, and probably the mayor would be best. This is where, or agree on a spot we'd like to place the sign, and if they're agreeable, then you'd be able to place your sign there, it'll be much more effective.
The sign will have a benefit for the village as well, as there is that portion of road that they are responsible for maintaining, and as we know, they're having some issues with that roadway, just due to the sheer cost of maintenance because of heavy vehicle through traffic is a large contributor to that, so.
All right, so if you can agree on a sign and you can agree on the location, I think next meeting you'll be ready to move forward with noticing a public hearing on this draft local law.
Doesn't Carmine say in his memo, he went on to recommend that we coordinate our efforts with the New York State DOT?
Oh, yeah, I saw that too. I'm not sure if he's talking about the east end of the road or what it is.
The RE says Merritt Boulevard weight limit / truck restriction town ordinance.
And
Our highway department secretary is here, perhaps he could.
You know anything about that, Kev? The weight limit signs.
And to talk about an alternate truck route as well.
Yeah.
Not to speak out of turn, I'll just limit it. The state DOT was going to be involved on the Route 9 side because the engineer recommended that we coordinate them establishing a truck route that takes the trucks from 9 to 52.
Right.
So that's, yeah. On the Route 52 side, the CPL said that there was no need to involve the state because that's all.
Okay, but we're establishing the no-through truck regulation for Merritt. Does Carmine want to work out the alternate truck route at the same time and do it all at once? Does he want to do a piecemeal? How does he?
That I can't speak to, but I can have Carmine contact you guys.
All right, so we'll table this till the next meeting.
Yeah.
Table this one to the 20th?
18th.
What is it?
18th.
18th, thank you. Next up, discussion of resolution to authorize Vanderwater and Vanderwater to do a tax cert on Brandon Lindsay Realty. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Consent. Next one, town board discussion establishing a comprehensive plan implementation committee. So we have some residents wanting to volunteer to do a committee. I got another letter from the Highway Superintendent, Carmine Estevan, supporting the project. You got your glasses on?
I've read it, and I've talked to him, and I've looked at the thing. I just think it needs to be completely, really focused and be more of an advisory committee. But I think there are things to work here with it. There's no doubt. I think harnessing volunteerism is a good thing.
So what do you see of it not being advisory on here?
I mean, it does say, third letter, to establish and support this committee as it acts in an advisory capacity.
Precisely. That's what I agree with. It was written as an implementation committee, so I'm agreeing that it's an advisory.
Right, but the implementation is not what the committee will be doing, but rather it is a committee about the implementation of the comprehensive plan. So it's not that they will themselves be implementing it, it's that is the topic around which the committee would be formed.
Well, anyway, we just need to work it out and make it focused, and I think it's a good idea.
So how do we work this piece of paper out to make it work?
Well, you know...
What do you want to see out of it?
Ask Jonathan Cantor to come up.
Mr. Cantor, you got a second?
Maybe 3 seconds.
Since you came here tonight, you must know we're going to abuse you a little bit. So you and I talked about this just before you were going on your great vacation to the wilds of New York, and we were agreeing that something, you know, along the lines of being focused. So maybe you and I can get together and discuss that and see what we could
That's fine.
Present.
Sure, we could do that. And so John Cantor, resident of the town of Fishkill and former member of the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee, I think it would be an excellent thing for the town board to establish an implementation advisory committee. It's any kind of committee like that would be advisory. Any implementation would be done through actions by the town board.
But I misspoke.
So, no, but I think that's how, you know, most communities I've been familiar with have done it.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, it would be such a great thing to do. It was a fantastic report, the plan update.
Yeah.
I know a number of you spent equal amount of time as we did on it. And there are so many things in that plan update that would have some very positive effects for the town.
This baby right here?
Yeah. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's, I carry it around with me all the time.
I bet you do.
Like your little pocket constitution.
I somehow don't doubt that.
Okay, so Mr. Cantor, you'll work with Councilman Rye on this?
So I'd be glad to get together with Councilman Rye, and I also would like to volunteer to be on the committee if you do establish it.
Okay.
I think Ann Lagoy has done a great job in terms of sort of putting together the thoughts on what a committee like that could do, but it's ultimately up to the town board in the establishment resolution that you would put forth, you know, to focus a committee like that on the types of things you would like to see worked on.
Mr. Gabbard, we have to have a public hearing on that, or just a resolution?
No, resolution.
Okay, so,
Next meeting?
no, you're not going to be ready by next meeting, are you?
No.
Second meeting of October?
Well, let me report back.
All right, so bring it to the first, I'm sorry, bring it to the second, bring it to the first December meeting?
December.
And if they're earlier, we just move forward.
You got it.
Fair enough? All right.
Thanks.
Okay?
Thank you.
No, yes? What?
Thank you, Mr. Cantor.
Okay. All right, next up, discussion of the town board meeting schedule. It looks like nobody wants to do one a month for the entire year, that's fine. It looks like we want to stick just to June, July, and August, one meeting a month for those 3 months. Is that pretty much the gist of it?
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Can I persuade you guys to go instead of 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock?
You could persuade me, but you couldn't persuade my boss.
I could start at 6.
What about you?
I think people get home from work, they have their dinner, and they come to meetings. I don't know.
You think it's a destination on Wednesday nights?
Oh, yeah.
It is?
We we know there's a certain population that...
I mean, if you get much bigger crowds, you're gonna have to start charging admission.
I tell you, this room is always packed every meeting. People are here voicing their opinion, their First Amendment rights, and it wasn't like that not that long ago.
So we're going to do June, July, August, one meeting?
Just one meeting and two meetings a month.
Two every other month.
Yep.
Got that, Becky?
Do you want to try, what is the earliest you can possibly get here, Fred?
I mean, if
6:30?
we were to start at 6, I could be here. It would require me to augment my work schedule every time that we have a town board meeting.
Would 6:30 work better?
Just say yes or no, Greg.
Probably not.
All right,
Like,
leave it as is.
I was gonna say, I can't reliably know that I'd be here by 6:30 because I get off the train at 6:15. And
okay.
then there's 9D and Route 52 traffic.
So I'll work with Becky on establishing the schedule. Next up, town board to discuss waiving a permit.
We're just closing this for now, right?
Yeah.
We can talk about it.
No.
Okay.
We got our instructions.
Yep.
All right, next up is town board to discuss waiving operating permit fee for Slater Chemical Fire Department. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Next up, discussion of plowing service between Town of Fishkill and Fishkill Historical. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Next up, discussion of plowing service between Town of Fishkill and Mount Julian. Next up, discussion of resolution authorized modification of the 2024 adopted general fund budget for control expenses. So we had to pay someone to search for our controller. Everybody okay with that in the consent?
Sure.
Next up, discussion of resolution to waive a 30-day liquor license for Splashdown. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Discussion of resolution to waive 30-day for Cass Brunch LLC. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Next one is resignation of Officer Richard DeSico. Everybody okay with that?
Sure.
Sure.
Contract with, this is a good one. We got discussion of resolution approving the 2025-2026 contract, ambulance service, the Roundabout Ambulance District. That's a 2-year contract. I think we got some excellent rates.
I actually looked into this. I didn't know that we were going to be, I thought that last time we were in the conversation, so I actually took the time to look into it, and I think you did a good deal.
Thank you, sir.
Quick question.
Yeah.
They talked about buying the little satellite building in Dutchess Park.
Yeah, so the Roundabout Fire District owns a second building on the intersection of Cedar Hill and Route 52. Once the new firehouse is built, they're going to put it up for sale. It has some roof problems. I forgot what their offer was for us to buy it. That's something that we should consider. Once the firehouse is built, then we can get back together and figure out what we can do. Because that would be an excellent spot for a town a town ambulance garage.
It really would be.
Yeah, but, if the ambulance people work with us, that's something we can consider. I don't want to give them a building and they're still going to bang us $500,000. All right. Next up is discussion that's consent. Yep, 17, discussion of resolution authorized budget modifications for the DA fund balances for auction proceeds. So Carmine made some money. Everybody okay with that?
Sure.
Next up, discussion of resolution to hire recreation staff for various programs. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
All right, next up is discussion of updating the law for snow ordinance parking.
I love it.
You love the idea?
I do.
I love it too.
Yeah.
John?
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it is. It's common sense. I like it.
So basically, when it doesn't snow, you don't have to move your car off the street. That'll be the gist of it. So we have to, in the consent, we have a resolution introduced, so we have to set a public hearing for this tonight? Number 13 will be, in consent will be set in the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a date that we're going to set it?
Well, I think I left it blank in the resolution, actually, so you're going to have to decide what date you want to fill in. Becky, is that correct?
Yes.
So second meeting in October.
Second meeting in October.
That's the latest, because then the old one goes into effect in November.
All right. So
Okay.
that's
Which meeting are we voting on
October
budget?
16th, Mr. Gavel.
Second meeting in October. Number 20, discussion of a proposed local law to amend Town of Fishkill section entitled Vehicles Prohibited on Certain Streets. So that's just a discussion.
What?
Number 20.
I think we already discussed that.
Explain that one to me. I'm a little lost on that.
Well, in order to prohibit if I'm looking at the right one, yeah, for sure. Impose the no-through truck provision on merit,
Oh.
you will need to include a provision in your code for no-through trucks. Now, for other street signs, the town has established schedules, and you have a provision in the chapter on vehicles and traffic that says the schedules for signs can be amended by resolution. You don't need to
Not this
adopt a
one.
local law. You didn't have a schedule for it. Instead, you had only one roadway written in, and it was written right into the text of the law. So what this law does
That
is
sounds
it
kind of
establishes a schedule for the, for roads that you limit access to, like no-through trucks or weight limits.
Gotcha.
And it adds merit, so that in the future, if you want to have limited access to a roadway, all you have to do is adopt a resolution. You don't have to enact a
That's the way
local
we like
law.
it. Thank you, Steve.
But you're not going to act on that tonight. That's just on for discussion.
Right, just discussion.
So what do? We need a resolution to set the public hearing for this one too?
We'll need to introduce it.
You will in the future. Right now, we're going to talk with Carmine, and he's going to look into discussions with the village about where to place the sign, if we can place a sign in the village. And we're going to talk about the alternate, bless you, the alternate truck route that would need, or at least maybe should, I don't know about need to, be established so that trucks have other ways to go.
Okay.
Now, maybe it turns out that there's no alternate truck route and they just have to use roadways. It may be that you establish one. You'd probably want to do those
All
laws in
right,
tandem.
when you need, second meeting of October, or?
Let's put on second meeting of October, and if it isn't done, I'll let you know in advance, and you can just adjourn it.
So this will have no impact on the snow ordinance?
This has nothing to do with the snow ordinance.
All right, so why don't we just make it the second meeting of November?
Sure.
Because if the October meeting
And if it's
goes,
done earlier, we can put it on.
so if the second October meeting goes good,
But I have to talk.
then I want to cancel that first meeting. November one. Second November meeting, please. Thank you, ma'am. Next up, privilege of the floor for agenda items. Anything that we spoke about tonight, you can speak about. No, okay.
This is coming out of your pay, Kevin.
Are you salary or
I'm here as a
salary?
citizen tonight. Just to clarify, with the village on the no-through truck route, what's dicey, what's confused a little bit is the gap has to have access to a certain point. So if we place no-through truck signs prior to the gap, then that kind of mucks up.
But that's
They
no going
wouldn't
through.
be considered a through truck. Yeah, the sign would be like no through traffic
right.
except for local deliveries,
That's
so
right.
that
I
would
guess you'd have to talk to
exempt
the gap
anybody going to
about
the gap.
them referencing it not being a local delivery like that. That was just what CPL's traffic engineer told us, was you'd have to move it just past the gap while there's still, if you moved it just past the gap driveway or just before the gap driveway, that's where there's still the turnoff where if they inadvertently go down the road.
I'm
but
not
that's
sure
why-
that's true.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think it would be considered a local delivery if they're coming to and from the gap.
Okay.
But you don't want.
I'm just
through
letting you
trucks
know what
and
they
stuff.
told us.
No,
just
it's
so
a
you guys know.
concern,
Yep.
and we need to talk about
Yep.
it, but I'm not sure that's dead in the water.
Oh, yeah, that was just why they discussed putting the sign outside of the village, so.
Understood.
I'm done now.
Thank you. All right. That's it. Hello.
Hi again. I just wanted to make a comment in regards to the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee suggestion. One, I do understand that the Highway Superintendent sent a memo. I would like to hear that read out on the record. So if somebody could please read that, that would be really fantastic. The other thing is, even within the comprehensive plan that was unanimously passed, there is an implementation plan. So it would seem to make sense to have an implementation committee. I myself would be very interested in joining that. We spent 2 years on that comprehensive plan update, which everyone at the table now was part of. And there are numerous citizens in the community that are also interested in partaking in that. I think to engage the community, get people vested, and, you know, there was one town, and Councilman Rye, you asked if there was any local municipalities that had such a committee, and I shared with you a list. I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at that, but Hastings-on-Hudson is amazing. Not only did they have an implementation committee, but 10 years after, they had a report that they went back and were able to showcase some of the things that they were able to recommend and that the village did take into consideration and did make happen. So I would love to see that happen. I would love to be part of that. And hopefully, I don't know if I heard correctly, hopefully we're not waiting until December to get a decision on that. Thank you. And also, I would like to hear the memo.
Louise Daniele, legal resident. Just a couple of things. I know you said it was $40,000, but you still didn't clarify, was that money to hire a company to find a comptroller, or was that money for the consultant, or half and half? It would just be nice to know how that was actually split up. I think I read the agenda packet the way that Kevin read it, and I believe the highway superintendent read it regarding the suggestions from CPL, because they had specific ones, and there's basically, you'd have to enforce it. So we don't have the right police weight scales units to do that. I don't think it's necessary myself, but I guess we'll see what the public thinks. I don't even think we need to get to a public hearing. I think we should listen to the highway superintendent and put no through unless local delivery signs, and I highly doubt that the village of Fishkill is going to want to be involved in that, since they need to have the trucks get to the gap, but we'll see. Also, number 14, where we waived a 30-day hold for the liquor license. In case anybody wanted to know, I didn't know what that was, because it said Casa Brunch LLC. So I asked, and I was told that the Old Seasons will become a Mexican restaurant, if anybody was wondering what that is. So, that's it.
Mr. Cantor?
Hi again. Another thing I was thinking about with the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee is that there are a number of recommendations in the plan that talk about things like sidewalk improvements, traffic improvements. And I talked with Highway Superintendent Estevan about some of these things. And there are all kinds of grant programs available on the state and sometimes even the federal level that could help the town implement some of these things. So that could be one of the things that I think the committee could do some legwork on, trying to find out what types of funds might be available and how you go about obtaining them.
That's the kind of thing I want to talk to you about, absolutely.
Yeah. And so those are, some of the real life issues that I think could really help the town out.
I think I just saw that Village of Wappinger or Town of Wappinger, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if you saw it, they got a grant for sidewalks. I thought,
yeah,
we need to find a grant for sidewalks.
So besides sidewalks, things like streetscape improvements that could go along with that, certain areas could really make some streets more amenable for pedestrians and things like that. So those are just a few of the things that I think a committee like that could get into.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. O'Malley, you've been silent all for the last 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Good evening, Russ O'Malley, Fishkill. Just a question. Are they going to sell alcohol at splashdown watersides? Is that?
That's what it looks like. If they're looking for
Okay, that's all I need to know.
They already do.
Yeah, they already do.
For years.
Yeah.
Well, then what's this for?
Renewal.
They sold out. No, they sold, and so the new owner has to apply for a new license.
Yeah.
You could walk over there and walk back.
This conversation is surreal. He's on the right path, though. Thank you, Russ. All right, so next up is the consent agenda. I'll make a motion to move number 12 to the next meeting on the 18th. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is that all I gotta do?
Yeah, and then you can proceed with the rest of the consent.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda. Can I have a second?
As amended.
As amended?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. New items for special consideration? None. New and old business? Greg, anything?
No, I just wanted to just take a moment to reiterate my support for the residents who are coming out this evening to talk about good cause eviction. As it pertains to existing inventory of affordable housing units within the town, I'll repeat now what I said at the last meeting. I'm a no on selling or allowing for a buyout on that. I recognize that a negotiation was struck. I was not involved in that negotiation. I do not feel bound to it. I'm going to vote independently. I'm going to vote my mind on that one. If I end up on the side that comes up short, no, that's unfortunate, but I also recognize that, deals have been made and that they were negotiated in good faith and for the best interest of the town. Sometimes we do have to, enter into agreements that we don't necessarily like, but I'm going to vote my conscience on that. I'm in the young generation, and parents are in the older generation, so I'm sort of seeing the concept of housing affordability from both ends of the spectrum. I've said on the record before, and I think it bears repeating, that for people in my generation, the most reliable avenue to home ownership is the death of our parents. Meanwhile, so many of our parents...
Wait a minute, my son is still living with me.
And he doesn't own the house. That's the whole point. The fastest avenue to home ownership.
You're making me feel very uncomfortable.
I'm, just keep on the. Your cat is probably more likely to try to kill you than anything else. But smart man. Back to my point. My generation's fastest avenue to home ownership is the death of our parents, who many of whom are blessed enough to own homes. But we're also looking at our parents now. Many of them are on fixed incomes or are retired. And the cost of maintaining a home or buying a new one can often exceed what we're able to put together, for our communities and our seniors. So I see the importance of being able to work for an environment where young people, families, and seniors alike can stay in their homes, can build a life, maintain a life, and choose to live out the entirety of their life here in Fishkill. There are many things in life which you shouldn't have if you don't have the money. If you don't have the money, you shouldn't have luxuries that you can't afford. Housing should never be one of those things. Healthcare, education should never be one of those things that you should have to go without because you can't afford it. So I know that, local solutions go a long way. I recognize that we need national solutions, state solutions as well. Part of my day job is involved in, helping the leader of our state legislature try to solve these problems. I'm committed to it. I know that my colleagues are committed to it as well. The thing that I just want to say that bears repeating is, for everyone who's coming out who's concerned about whether or not they're going to make rent, for people who are concerned about how much their next lease is going to cost and how much more it might cost in the current one, we hear you and we share your concerns. I also rent in Fishkill. I do not yet own a home here, but I intend to someday, and it is with that goal in mind that I'm going to be making decisions that I think are going to be in the benefit of everyone who lives here, whether you're fortunate enough to own a home and want your property taxes to be manageable, whether you are a landlord who has a rental unit and you're trying to do the right thing by your tenants, or like me, you rent the home that you live in. So thanks to everyone who came out and spoke about that tonight, and know that I'm on your side.
Thank you, Councilman. John?
Okay, I'm going to read the letter, the memo. To Supervisor Ozzy Albert, members of the Town Board, from Carmine Istvan, dated today. RE Town Board to discuss establishing a comprehensive plan implementation committee. Supervisor Albert and Town Board members, I have recently met with Ann Lagoy regarding her plan to establish the comprehensive plan implementation committee. It was a productive meeting, and my takeaway from it was that the town would be well served to establish and support this committee as it acts in an advisory capacity. This committee would increase civic participation as well as bring differing perspectives and talents to the table as we try to implement the town comprehensive plan. A committee such as this can help the town reach many goals and provide assistance with the following, just to name a few. One, help Fishkill achieve its goal as being designated as Tree Town USA municipality. Two, the Dutchess County Transportation Council has a safety action plan committee on which I serve. The Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee could provide assistance in applying for the Safe Street grants that will be available through the DCTC. Help us make Arbor Day a day of celebration here in Fishkill and help implement the planting of native species throughout the town parks and town campus. Assist the highway superintendent and town supervisor establish educational materials regarding responsible soil application during the winter months. These education materials would be provided to residential and commercial property owners, as well as the many HOAs within our town. We would like to establish a program where commercial contractors and HOAs will be recognized as Fishkill Safe Salt Partners. The Town Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee could help establish this program. Additionally, I would like to provide some suggestions for the establishment of this committee as well as the makeup of the committee membership. One, the town board should select one of its members to serve on this committee. Two, the town board will need to inform residents of Fishkill about this committee, establish criteria for applying to be on the committee, and implement the application process. Three, given that many of the items for implementation will directly involve highway, building, and grounds, I would recommend that the highway superintendent and his confidential secretary serve on the committee.
Absolutely.
And last, committee size does not have to be a set number. The committee could be effective with as few as 5 members and as many as 20. Please feel free to contact me with any additional questions or concerns you may have for me on this topic.
Thank you, Councilman. Brian?
And we appreciate his thoughts on the topic. There are a number of things in there that are absolutely worthy. Just as far as downstate, I know that you were surprised with a meeting with these potential developers one time, and should that happen again, if you could let me know, I would love to sit in on such a meeting. I think it's important to have a couple of us involved, as I know we're going to include some individuals from the fire district, et cetera. So I'd like to be able to participate. I know we're getting closer to a resolution on finding out about Camp Foster and being able to rename that Fishkill Veterans Memorial Park. As of now, it looks like we will be able to do that, and I certainly hope the board supports me when we get a final answer on that, which should be shortcoming. I would like to encourage everyone to please attend the 9/11 ceremony at the flagpole in front of the police department. 9/11, 12 p.m. to 12:30 p.m., and this is going to be conducted by our Veterans Committee, and they are honoring us with organizing that whole event. That's all I have.
Supervisor, if I can just get back in before you wrap up, I do just want to let everyone know that our townwide cleanup day is going to be Saturday, September 14th. You can see more information about that. I know that the Highway Department is already hard at work preparing for that, and I know that we're also going to have the San Gennaro event at the Rec Center later this month as well. I know that signups began for that this past week, so that was, just wanted to make sure that those were noted.
I'm glad you noted.
It wasn't on the agenda, otherwise I would have said this during the other moment. So the renaming of Camp Foster, it's unspeakable. This is a Brinkerhoff family. This is it was named after a relative of the Brinkerhoffs. This is generational. To omit the name, maybe you could name it something like, Camp Foster Veterans. You could combine the names, but to omit this generational family name is...
You know what? That information didn't come up in this research, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Thank you. What's your name for the place, Brian?
I'm surprised that it didn't come up.
What was the name you want to name it?
We're Fishkill Veterans Memorial Park.
Could we do something like Fishkill Veterans Memorial Park at Camp Foster?
I
like
mean,
that.
absolutely.
I
You
think
can
that
just
would be
combine
great.
it.
That works
Don't,
perfectly.
but don't just drop the name.
Ed Camp Foster.
At Camp Foster. Thank you, ma'am. All right, our next meeting
Thank you
is,
for that, and I don't know how we didn't know that in all the documentation we've been coming across, but none of that ever came up, so thank you.
so our next board meeting is September 18th. Wish you all well. God bless America. There's no executive session. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second? Second. All in favor? Good night.
Good night.